Hey everybody, today I am drawing a bright yellow finch that I saw on my walk the other day. I'm not quite sure what it looks like. I have a rough idea. I think I'm making him a little fatter than I should, but I'm not quite sure. So I have a circle and a few ovals, the triangle, another circle for the eye. I'm putting in some dark where I know there's black because the finch I saw had black wings, a black patch on his head, and was pretty much yellow. Since I'm working with a lot of yellow, I have to erase a lot of my underlying pencil lines. So I'm using the side of my pencil and I'm putting a lot of yellow down, and then I'm using some marker right over it. I'm going to be layering the pencil, color pencil and markers throughout this. I like the way they look together. It adds a little bit more variation of just solid yellow. Because you can see that with the different yellows, the color pencil to the marker, that it's not just a solid blob. It's hard to work with just yellows unless you have a lot of variety. So here I'm adding some details of some darker lines where the feathers go, and adding more in the crown and covering the eye. So here I went from a regular marker, I meant regular color pencil, to a Sharpie fine line marker, and it looks more like hair when you layer it, or fur. Actually, not hair or fur, it's called feathers. Sorry about that. And going over his eye, the ink will look a little bit shinier than the flat pencil. And I'm going to keep layering different things. So here I'm putting some gray marker right on top, and a darker gray. I never really noticed before how a lot of yellow finches seem to have a yellow body and dark wings. Now, I'm not sure if he had a dark spot on his chest or not. I didn't really get that good of a look, so I'm making it completely yellow. And I think that this is just a different type of finch than some others. Making his body a little thicker to match that wing. There we go, that's much better. And now he's a little bit chubbier than he should be, but that's okay. My bird is doing really well, finding a lot of healthy snacks. So here, this is a white marker pen. It's a Sharpie. And I like to add the white on top because it has a different shine than the paper. So leaving the paper plain doesn't have the same effect. And I can see some colors through this. So I really sort of like it. I'm testing out different markers. Paint markers tend to do what that did, which is bleed and work sporadically. So some brands work better than others some of the time. And I think actually a white gel pen is better than these paint markers. So going over the little bit of black Sharpie, the fine line, adding some really small details. And then filling my branch in with a nice gray brown. So I always use more than one color or one layer when I work on branches, because no branches are all exactly one color. Even if they look like they are, there's some variation. Up, and there's orange. He's going to sit on my bird. He does not like to be moved out of the way. So this week, see how many different birds you can notice out your window, in your backyard, from your front yard, going on little walks. And try to remember as much as you can about the color and go home and draw them. So maybe you're like me and you might have forgotten that there's a spot somewhere, or you make your bird too thin or too fat. Who cares? Just have fun being outside and looking for birds with your family if you can, and drawing them. So my yellow bird is starting to stand out more with this brown background. I chose the brown background so the yellow would stand out. I could have done blue. Oh, hey, orange. But I decided to stick with the brown. I like that. Going over it with a darker color. And it's a very vibrant, moving background. I'm not going to try to make it really neat. I'm going to let you see those lines. And I'm still adding some more details in the yellow and white. Going over his legs so we can see them a little bit better. And adding more and more detail. It's one of these things, like we could call this done and walk away, or I could like add a few more details that'll make it look much better in the long run. Sometimes it's those last few minutes that can really make your artwork feel complete and finished versus like almost there. Right now this is almost there, and I think by adding some more, I'm going to make it look amazing. So here I'm putting that white marker and it bled, so I'm just going to use this and spread it out. And I'm going to turn this little accident into part of my drawing, and it's going to work just fine. So I'm going to let that dry and leave that alone while I work on other areas. And now it's dry, so you can see I'm using like just a yellow pen to add little tiny lines on top. And now it looks like there's a really nice highlight. So I like the way all that white looks, especially when I add a little bit of yellow on top of it. I think he's looking great. I mean, granted, he's too chubby for a yellow finch, and I know that, but he's happy, and I like him. He's a really happy finch. So you should tell me what kind of birds you saw. Try your best. Have a really good time. That's the important thing, is have fun. Use as many different pens and markers as you have. And if you don't have any pens and markers or colored pencils or crayons, use a pencil. A really light gray for the light colors, and as hard as you can and dark as you can for the darker spaces. And have a good time. That's the most important thing. So thank you for watching, and hit the like button.